Hello and welcome to the P3 podcast, episode 1. We are super delighted to welcome Ed Clancy as our inaugural guest here on the P3 podcast. Now, Ed is a 3-time Olympic and 6-time world track cycling champion and is the brand ambassador here at Pro-Noctis.com. Before we get into the content, we need to add a little bit of context, really. So, Ed's been going through a really busy time at the moment with training camps all over Spain, World Championships in Berlin, and coming up in just under 6 months' time is the Olympic Games itself. So as you can imagine, his diary has been mega full. But we did manage to pin him down. We managed to get him into a coffee shop, believe it or not, which is no surprise for the cycling fans out there. Coffee and cycling go hand in hand. And during that time, we managed to have a little conversation as part of our catch-up. And as we did that, the videographer who was with us at the time said, guys, we need to capture this. Let's get a microphone on you. Because of the content, we decided to use this as our first podcast. And to give you a bit of extra context to the start of this conversation, this is Ed and I chatting about his recent failure and his experience at a major tournament.
I didn't go out of the house for 4 days. I went out of the house once for the team talk because there was no option.
You had to be there.
I had to be there. Yeah. And funnily enough, I went there and it's a team talk, and all the riders and staff probably feel like they've got to go and they get dragged into it, and probably one of them things you sort of roll your eyes at a bit, but the truth is, I actually enjoyed it. I was there with the boys, we had some good banter on the table, went for a pizza afterwards, and I went home and felt 10 times better about myself. But then I still had sort of Glasgow looming, and I felt tired. And
was it like a hangover type thing?
Yeah,
really. Like 4 or 5 day hangovers. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, you know what? It took me the best part of 2 weeks to get over the Glasgow hangover. I really it's stupid, isn't it? I went there. I rode well at Glasgow, the Europeans 2 or 3 weeks before. There's no question of your form. You've got good form. You've done everything right, and for whatever reason, you've pushed yourself a bit too hard in training. You've not taken adequate recovery. You haven't got it quite right, and you turn up to Glasgow and you just feel like you feel like you've let everyone down. You feel like you haven't done your job. But I mean, logic will tell you every single time that you did your best. There's nothing more you can do. Yeah. You kind of followed your training program. It's all a good learning experience. There's so many more positives than bad things, but it didn't stop me at that point. Just going into a big reclusive coma for literally 2 weeks. And it was only until I got to Portugal 10 days ago now that I sort of started coming out of that. And it's like I need someone to pull me out of that comfort zone. I call it a comfort zone, but it feels like an uncomfy place.
Well, did our conversations help then? Or did your did they genuine?
They're genuinely out, and they genuinely out. It's just having someone to almost force you into answering the call, replying to the text, because me, I'll sit there and I'll look at I've got 10 text messages, and if I'm having one of them days, I just can't deal with it, which is totally the wrong thing to do, because by the time you start replying to it, you feel a bit better. All of a sudden, you can take yourself up 5 or 6 pegs in a 5-minute sort of WhatsApp conversation backwards and forwards, and it does help. And you are remarkably good at pulling the logic out of the situations and putting a positive, not even a positive spin on things, just a logical spin on things, and showing this is what's actually happening, this is what's happened. Accept and move on.
Yeah, because I thought from my perspective, also you don't see that, as well as the fact that obviously we're WhatsApping back and forth, and I've got nothing to go off apart from the words you've written.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So I have to ask logical questions because sometimes you can see body language or facial expressions and things like that. There's a bit of incongruence there, what's going on. But what's really good though from you is in your messages you are easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that you're quite clear in the way you communicate, which is a good. You can work with that.
Good.
It's when people are incongruent and they're bouncing all over the place, and it's quite difficult. So you create a good benchmark to go off.
Yeah, good. That's good to know. Yeah.
And you're honest as well. Yeah, you're honest with yourself, and you're honest with us, and what we do. You go, look, I'm in a shit place.
I think honesty's good. Yeah, I think sometimes I can always be too honest. Even with journalists and stuff like that. Journalists ask me questions. I find it hard to say. If somebody says, points out the fact that we've struggled or we haven't medalled in a certain competition, and say, can you be happy with that? The line is, we're doing our best and we're going to be better for the Olympics. Yeah. But I tell them, I say, look, we're not happy. We want to be doing better, and I feel like we should be doing better. And I don't know if it's always the right thing to say, but I do like being honest.
Why do you feel that's not the right thing to do then? Is it because it's like obviously you've got a big organisation you're trying to appease and you don't want to upset people, or is it because you're not controversial, Ed, are you? That's the thing. Like, once you speak the truth, you're not controversial.
No. I think in my old age, I'm kind of mindful that Brailsford told me this once. It's like it doesn't matter if you want your opinion to matter or not. The fact is, it does matter, and because of who you are and who you represent, more perhaps, with me, it's like you represent not just British cycling, you represent an Olympic gold medalist, multiple Olympic gold medalist, and I'm not necessarily like the sort of person that jumps in front of the cameras and like makes a big deal out of that, but nonetheless, you are Olympic gold medalist, and you have been part of the most successful Olympic team in recent history, and it matters what you say. And like if you say something rash or you say something controversial, you know about it, and people know about it, and it carries weight whether you want it to or not.
Yeah.
So you've got to be mindful of that.
And that's why, the conversations we've had today behind closed doors is not for something, not even for this forum, because we're both professional enough not to do that.
That's right.
Because you never know what's going to get leaked or slipped out.
No,
but
exactly.
we know what we think, we know what you think and where things should go and where you want to do after your career.
Yeah.
But there's a time and a place for that, isn't there? And I think...
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's that experience and respect thing. And I think you are good at that. You are good.
Yeah, I mean, you can say exactly the same thing that you say, to your mates. 4 beers in, behind closed doors, you could say this exact same thing to a journalist. But if you word it better and you say it in a different manner, and even a tone of voice and things like that, you can essentially say the same thing, but it's correct and it's respectful and it shows the other side of the story as well.
Yeah, of course.
Rather than just like a big angry sort of...
And I think it might be a lazy connection, but I also think as well, this is why people are getting fed up with politicians, because they're just lying and they're spinning and they're trying to do this and that, where you're almost just saying how as it is. And when it's the truth and it's your view and it is your view, I don't think people can really argue with that because you have put some thought into it. You're not someone who's just going to go off and fly off an handle, are you?
No, that's it. I think, if I don't know the answer to something, I'm not sure, I just say it. I don't have all the answers, and I think that's okay. And, when people ask, are you going to win the Olympics? I always tell them we don't know. We just say we try our best and we do the right things, but we never know. We've never known in the past, we'll never know in the future. It's like, people ask me all the time, are you confident you're going to turn this around? Like, I'm confident we'll do our best. It's no more complicated than that. I'm confident we'll do everything right and we'll be as good as we can be. But, I mean... how confident are you of winning? Even when you're the best team in the velodrome by a country mile, I'm never 100% confident of winning. It's just a sliding scale. But you can always be 100% confident that you do your best, and
that's all you can do, isn't it? And I think that sets a realistic expectation. I think as soon as people start going, we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win. You're either going to win or you're going to be disappointed, aren't you? Whereas we'll do our best and control everything you possibly can and get there and. If everybody's supporting and pulling in the right direction to that common goal, then you're setting yourself up for success. Even if you perform at your best and you don't win, that's a form of success.
Yes, it
is. If you're banging out PBs and
No, you're right. You're absolutely right, and that is what success looks like, isn't it? If you do everything right and you get to the start line, you get a silver medal or a bronze medal or fourth or whatever. I mean, how can it be anything else? I think enjoying it as well.
Yeah, and that's probably the bits you've had the last couple of weeks is when it's emotional and it's a negative emotion rather than a positive emotion. The enjoyment goes away, doesn't it? And you start
like you wouldn't believe. Like honestly, there's been times the last 2 weeks. I mean, I've literally I'm having breakfast and I'm due to do a 2 or 3 hour ride, and I sort of walk down. I look in the garage. I look at my bike. And I just can't do it. I mean, you just walk away from it. It's like and it's so different from when you approach your bike in a positive frame of mind, and it doesn't matter if you're going well or not. It's just having that positive frame of mind and like enjoying life, enjoying being alive, and enjoying being a professional cyclist. You can almost like spring down to the garage in your kit, jump on it, crack open the garage door, and off you go. And it almost feel like. You have days where you're just totally bulletproof, from a mental point of view.
Yeah, of course,
You could have the best, you could be hitting PBs left, right and centre, or you could just be crawling along and you could enjoy the fact that you're out on a bike and not sat in an office. And I guess, I mean, real success is having that every time you go out to do your job or ride your bike, whatever.
Well, I think it's a sense of realism. We are human beings as well, and you're in environments where it's win or lose. That's what it is. And so you're going to lose some races. So it's building that resilience around that. And the thing with you, and I want to talk about it tonight, is how do you deal with success as well? Because there's expectation now, and not only of other people, but you of yourself.
Yes.
Because you have been crazy successful. I know you're modest enough not to talk about that, but you talk about it in jest sometimes. The most successful team pursuitist of all time, blah blah blah, but also the one who's responsible for the worst GB ride of all time. There's a counterbalancing measure there, but you are human, and performances happen, and it's a bit like that positive negative thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
When you have a negative, make sure your next thing's a positive.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, so you never try and get
so it doesn't compound it.
Yeah. Got you. I guess, how do you cope with success? I guess it's just having a bit more of a balanced, rounded outlook on life. There is like a certain beauty in the struggle, and not winning if you look hard enough. And there's a certain ugliness in success as well.
Yeah.
When you look at it like that. Yeah. I mean, it's like, when you're. I guess the long and short of it is like, if you're a person and you're alive, which we all are at this point in time, it's like you're gonna have good days and you're gonna have bad days, and it doesn't matter what you've won or what you've lost. It's like, I guess what we're getting to is perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it's a bike race, and it means, at that point in time, you'd rather die than let your mates down, and rather die than get that silver medal or whatever. But you know what? Once you've stepped away from it for a couple of months, and it's like you can kind of see the world for what it is again.
Yeah.
It looks like a very different place.
And especially when you start putting your brain into that forward gear of, success, and the results haven't gone your way lately yet.
Yeah.
There's improvements to come, so there's a possibility of big improvements.
Yeah.
But then when you go that 8-9 months down the line, you start thinking about how good's it going to feel if you did win.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very similar to the way you felt at Rio, I guess, in terms of with your injuries and you might not ride a bike again, never mind going to the Olympics, and then there you are a couple of months later on the top of the podium with another gold medal going, what's just happened?
That's it. It just depends, it's just like the lens in which you see it through, isn't it? If you spoke about Rio there, when you're on that hospital bed, it's like, man, you give anything to get an Olympic bronze medal in 8-9 months' time.
Can I go a stage further? Would you do anything to get out on your bike?
Yeah.
Because you miss it when it's like being injured, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're used to doing something when you're injured, you're like, I've got withdrawal symptoms now. I want to get out on my bike. Just want to ride my bike. Never mind compete.
God, yeah. I love riding my bike. I'm a mountain bike. I'm a trials bike. The odd motorbike ride. I love bikes, and you just it's just too easy to fall into that tunnel vision, isn't it? Where you've had previous success and you kind of don't know. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't struggle with it.
Yeah, of course. But you're human, aren't you?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I reckon even Superman would struggle sometimes because regardless of what happens, he's human too.
Yeah, you're right, Phil. Yeah.
So going forward then, and we'll edit this out, but it's just a fairly obvious question that might come into some of the videos we want to get out of this is. So we've worked together for 3 and a bit years now, almost since the back end of your last Olympic cycle, and you and I know beyond Tokyo, there's so much we can do together, and we're going to do, and it's about positively impacting people, and within that people, I mean people within organisations that are struggling maybe with their mental health at the moment or their general well-being. I think in terms of your academy with the kids, there's loads we can collaborate on there to get the next generation off their iPads and on their bikes, and that's set in stone, that's happening. But right now, what is it that Pro-Noctis does for you that you like and resonates with you?
Yeah. To me, like the Pro-Noctis and yourself, you're just like a safety net. I feel like as I've got older, I'm able to sort of deal with more and more situations on my own. And I know all the theory, and it's something I'm quite interested in, the psychology, and I read books about it, and it's genuinely a keen interest of mine. Every day, I keep my mental diary and write down like the purpose of the day. Whenever I've had to sort of resort to my limbic lobe and I've sort of acted out of emotion rather than logic, and how did that work for me? And I still get tripped up. I still encounter things that throw me off, and I have sort of overwhelming emotion or sometimes frustration, or I'm sad and unhappy, and you're like a safety net. It's like, when I can't deal with it myself, and I think it's important that for someone like me, I've got to be sort of proactive and sort of self-help as much as you possibly can, and see it almost as part of my job. But you guys are the experts, and I know that when I can't cope with something myself, I know that you guys can cope with it, and you always point in the right direction.
Is it good to have somebody outside of the BC bubble as well? In terms, because obviously that's is there a perk to that?
Yeah, to have someone outside British cycling as well is useful. They're all good guys in there, and I'm in a fortunate position that I feel I can speak to pretty much anyone in there about anything. But it does help. It's a different environment. It's just seeing someone without the British cycling tracks, you just instantly feel a little bit more like, it's a separate, I can speak honestly and not worry about selection or how this might impact on that conversation with somebody else. So, yeah, it does make a difference.
And it's good because that's a direct correlation to what we do within organisations, because we come in as an impartial unit, if you like.
Yeah.
We come in and speak to people, and they'll open up to us, and they will get coached by us, and they will speak freely, because I'm not writing their annual appraisal. That's going to affect their promotion.
Yes.
What they're saying is, these are my challenges. Can you help me find a solution? Yeah. Can you work with me to co-create a solution that I can go back with a fresh lens to drive performance, which is actually going to increase my chances of promotion, rather than going to my manager for help and going, look, I'm struggling with this. Yeah. And the manager says, what do you mean you're struggling with that? You were doing that years ago. Why aren't you doing it now? Yeah. Oh, it's motivation. And then it starts that negative dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a big plus. And that's good that there's a consistent crossover, that having somebody impartial that you can chat on and rely on, hopefully trust.
Yes.
To do the right thing by you. By you, not us.
Exactly. I mean, in an ideal world, it wouldn't impact on anything like selection or anything like that. But, I mean...
Can play on your mind, though, couldn't it?
Of course it can.
Should I have that conversation with that person now, or should I just keep it to myself? Or
imagine having a conversation with the head coach about, you feel like you're not coping with this type of training, something like that, or you feel like you wouldn't want to speak to the guy who's selecting the Olympic team about the fact that you're getting nervous before race day, would you?
No.
He wants guys that are going to be there and are going to be solid.
Well, he wants confidence in you. So if you're not confident in yourself, he's starting to go, ooh, question mark.
Yeah. And you couldn't blame the guy for having doubts in a certain ride that approach him like that. So, so it is helpful. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. So what's the next three months look like for you then? What's your main focus?
World Championships is at the end of February, and whilst it's not necessarily imperative that we do anything outrageous there, we want to be on that trajectory towards an Olympic gold medal. So whilst we'll still be in somewhat a training phase, and it's unlikely that we'll see our best performance until August in Tokyo, we want to be moving in the right direction. The colour medal we get is kind of irrelevant, or the position we finished, but we just all want to be in a good place. Having sort of gone through a good, hard endurance block, finished it off with a sort of short rest period, should be followed by a physical performance at least that's sort of 8-9 as good as what you're going to produce on the big day. It's just it's almost like a dress rehearsal, The dress rehearsal 4 or 5 months out. The chances are the team lineup will be very similar to the Olympics, barring illness, injury, and catastrophic loss of form. So it's really just like a dress rehearsal. That's the way British Cycling runs it at the moment. So that's what we do. I speak to you about this. I've thought in my head sometimes I just want to win everything, and you don't want every race to be like the Olympics, and you want to go there with that sort of mindset. But I think sometimes to get that massive spike in performance, it's necessary to sort of go through.
Especially the last couple of weeks, because you could get to March, April, and talk about that commitment and motivation, and all you have to do is flick back a couple of months, and all those memories will be there quite raw. And that might be the bit that makes the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was impactful, wasn't it? In terms of, granted, the time is negative, but there's a strong memory there of what you don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we've had a good race, in the last couple of months, followed by, at least for myself, like quite a poor performance. And whilst there's reasons for that, and it's very rare that we back up events in such close succession, it does leave like a bitter taste.
It stings.
It does, yeah. It still stings, and you want to go off. You want to leave the World Championships in February with sort of good vibes, good motivation. You want to be like a dog with a bone, just chomping at the bit, getting ready for the big one. Yeah.
Could tell it. And we talked about that process of understanding, identifying something, labeling it, and moving on. Remember we talked about that.
Yeah,
and and we won't go into what label you called it. But that's there, isn't it? He says going to write. That's that one now. So I know that's my brain trying to tell me that story again.
That's it. Yeah, it just I like it. Yeah, I almost just say it. I say it out loud. You know, even when it comes, I'm driving my van down the motorway and I think about it. I won't say the word, but I label it, and it's just like, right, move on.
Move on. Yeah, right. What else is happening?
It's just like, shut up, brain. Like,
yeah.
with that. Next one. Yeah.
Distract the conscious brain. Flick the radio station. Flick your podcast or whatever you're doing, and change focus of attention. And it's good, mate. It's good. Yeah. So you looking forward to tonight? I
am. Yeah. That'll be good. I'm looking forward to seeing a few of the slides you've got there for me. Yeah, I saw one earlier with me as I don't know how old it was. Must have been I don't know. Is that what that baby? Is that a month old or? I
don't know. It's probably a couple of months old. Yeah, and I nicked that from your Twitter. Yeah, I think you posted or somebody did for your 30th.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was all right. There you go. I searched Google. I put Ed Clancy as a baby.
Yeah.
And it was the first thing that came up, and it took me straight to your Twitter feed. So just as a vote of confidence in Google, if you like, that's the only picture of you as a baby on the internet.
That's good.
Because you can imagine kids these days though, getting to 18, 19, getting their first social media platform, and their life's already been on it.
Yeah, that's good.
Have you ever thought about that perspective? For those parents?
I have, yeah. I think a lot about like the kids and social media. And
different, isn't it?
It's very different.
Living the life in the public eye.
Yeah.
Without their choice.
But I mean, like some of it love it more than others, don't they? You know, some kids just absolutely embrace it, and like even the younger guys on our team. You know, like I look around the dinner table, and there was 6 of us out in Portugal. The oldest one there, bar myself, is Kian, who's 27. The rest are all 21, 22. Every single one of them, unless there's like a good conversation going, will have their phone in their hand and they'll be looking on social media, or posting on it, or like liking things, or noting comments, and just passing. The conversation is social media.
It's around social media. Have you seen this? Have you seen this video? Have you seen this monkey riding a horse or something like that?
Yeah, and like, you know, some of them absolutely thrive on it. But there's a few that don't, and I think it's an hard world for those people. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, but it's definitely a thing these days. And for someone like myself, I find it very hard to relate to why someone would want to spend all the time on it.
I think we were chatting before. There was a famous picture of I'm not sure if it was like Prince Harry's wedding to Meghan, where there was the crowds all in Windsor, and everybody had their phones out taking photos, and there was an old granny at the front just watching it, and the caption is something like, somebody really took this in. And I know, and that got my brain firing. I was thinking, well, because everybody's watching it through their phone, even though it's live. I'm watching it through my phone, so I'm not watching it direct, really. And I've seen some stories around rock bands when everyone's got their phones out, they just stop playing and go, "Can everybody put their phone away, please? Just be in the moment." And don't worry, we're recording it. It's going to be on YouTube for free. And by the way, your coverage isn't going to be great because there's somebody in front of you with the phone blocking it. Can we all just be present? And let's enjoy it for what it is. And I think there's a lot to be said in that.
You know what? I'm tempted to sit, while we're on this like topic of conversation, like tempted to sort of sit here and slag off social media and say I don't think it's good for kids, and I think it's a lot of big reason. A lot of them are sort of struggling with mental health, and it seems to be on the increase, despite the fact of, in terms of welfare, education, they've never had it so good, statistically. But depression and kids' suicide seems to be on the rise, and it's like, I mean, but usually when there's so many people doing one thing and there's only sort of me that thinks otherwise, usually means that I'm in the wrong. So this is something I still need to think about. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, reflecting.
I think or just a thing,
My nan always used to say everything in moderation.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to everything, whether it's diet, caffeine, food, social media. Social media could be the solution to it. Whilst it's created the problem, it could be one of the big, because technology's here to stay. We can't get away from it.
Think how many people have been brought together on Facebook, things like that.
And that's the thing you talk. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing I say sometimes is that through online social media, no doubt this will be going out on social, is that we've never been so close, but we've never been so far apart. Because we don't do this anymore. It's messaging, texting, and I don't think it'll ever come back. But part of my adventure and growing up as a kid was going to go out and play with my mates, and I'm to walk 4 blocks away, knock a door, and they weren't even there; they were already out, and then I'd have to walk streets to go and find them. But now it's all pre-arranged by a text, so nobody's ever disappointed anymore. And who's got the football we're going to play with this week? And who's got my football? I haven't played with a few days. And
I mean, it's definitely helpful, isn't it? As its uses for sure. Like you said, you think you summed it up yourself. It's just everything in moderation.
Yeah, for sure.
It's when it becomes an addiction, sort of takes over people's lives. It's unhealthy. Yeah, I mean, hopefully our Clancy Briggs project is going to be, I don't know, it's just another offering for the younger generation, you know? Like for me and Graham, like, you know, when we were kids, we love nothing more than sort of getting back from a day at school and getting out on your mountain bike and just having fun. Like, good old-fashioned fun. You just play bikes, you'd make some a ramp, find a few bricks to hop over, make a little race track in the playground, and I don't know,
ride over an empty can of Coke, put it on the back, and make a bit of a whirring noise. At
the time, we were just kids, like, having fun, but there's positive things, you know. It made you somewhat social. You had to, like, communicate and be with your friends. It made you healthy and fit, you know. By nature, you're out and you're pushing bikes around and charging about and being a kid, and I think there's a lot of benefits to it, sort of, you know, physical and mental. So,
for sure.
You know, that's why I'm
good.
Quite passionate about that. Yeah.
You're providing the opportunity, aren't you? And you know, a bit of that. And you've got some
posting it on social media.
Posting on social media, but positive influence, though, isn't it? Positive influence. That's the thing. So quality. And there you have it, episode 1 of the P3 podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and found some of the topics we covered there quite insightful. And we do promise you that very soon we will get Ed into our podcast studio and get deeper into some of those questions as he's preparing for Tokyo 2020. So with that in mind, if you'd like to contribute or add some questions, please put some questions into the comments below or DM us if you'd like on all social media, or take a look at the website at Pro-Noctis.com and fire a question into the inquiry page. But we hope you enjoyed it, and please keep an eye out for episode 2, which will be coming soon. Cheers now, bye.